Hi, Happy New Year. Long time no see. I am making a new video about a new language learning experience that I've been having for the last right 9 months since I started tuition in this language that I didn't post in the 2020 language learning experiment because sometimes it's cool to do things and not tell people about it. And also because my friend Josh works with this language professionally and I didn't want to embarrass him because he was my tutor at the time. I didn't want to cause problems in his world because, part of being a good citizen in this day and age is to not post things on the internet that will embarrass people you love. However, I think all my language learning series are now set out so that if you just want to follow like the East Asian stuff, or you just want to follow the relearning language series about European languages, with my Portuguese and Italian, Spanish and French A-levels, aka pretend I'm still 18, or the Hebrew series or the Russian series, they're all kind of set out now just like in themes so that you don't have to go through all the things I'm doing, because I realize that I do a bit of a pick and mix of different languages. But I just wanted to make a video briefly about a language that I'm learning. The difficulty with that phrase is language and not languages. This is something I just don't want to I don't want to engage them, because I didn't want to make this video for a while because I worried that it was going to come across as negative. And one thing I'm trying not to do is engage with like the toxicity that the internet can produce. I think, the collective sigh of relief that Trump is no longer the tweeter in chief should be a message to all of us to like not use the internet to be like toxic and abusive to people. Like, we can all do better. And also because I've shared a little bit about this on some of my videos, so depending which series you follow, you may know this, hopefully, footnote to my life story or not. But I had a very strange and traumatic experience the week that I moved to Iceland and began my new job, which was that I got basically doxxed and defamed online by people who I'd vaguely known, who I think were trying to play some kind of practical joke, or it was some weird sort of homosocial bonding between men who don't know how to have healthy male friendships, that involved my doctoral thesis and why it wasn't publicly available, which required me then making it publicly available and then spending 6 months in an extremely traumatic and complex situation related to my work as an academic of human rights and my work in Egypt. So I'm trying to not use the internet the way that it can be used in a very like negative way. I feel like with the election of Biden and this feeling that the pH level of like public discourse is returning to something akin to normal, should be kind of a lesson for all of us in how we can be kind of a bit more like human and not interact with one another as like ciphers or avatars. Is a good way of being in the world. So this is not a critique. It's not being negative. It's offering up like that there is a cool gap. And so if someone works on this, it's a cool gap that I found. So maybe you could go and work on that, and that would be cool, because it's always better to just kind of find solutions to things than like, narcissistic rage at like not getting exactly what you want. So since the summer of 2020, I have been learning Syriac and Aramaic, and I am not the expert. I am not the person to discuss the very, very, very complex trajectories of the languages of Aramaic into Syriac. I do remember like about 3 lessons of when I was first getting tuition on this with a friend of mine who's a doctoral student who specializes in Aramaic. They're like, there were like whole like half hours who were just like, no, Heather, that's classical Aramaic. No, Heather, that's imperial Aramaic. And like, I do have it down in my head, but I'm not gonna kind of like front as though I'm an expert on this, because I'm very, very, very far from an expert. There are people out in the world who are experts on this, and they're awesome people, and you should kind of consult their works, not a beginner. But I wanted to talk about the resources I found, which was super helpful because I was getting one-on-one tuition. I also did a summer school. I also worked through all this like really great print material that is available online from Sebastian Brock, from David G.K. Taylor, who makes he's made these awesome PDFs that display that kind of anchor you in like the absolute basic, from the basics to kind of the end of a beginner course. In this really, really great kind of primer that he's made publicly available, which I think is wonderful. I really have so much respect for him and for that he's done that and tried to kind of really tried to make Syriac and Aramaic feel like it's something that everybody can learn and can grasp, and opens up so much, you know, all this like amazing, beautiful poetry. And I think he really does great work as an academic in that way. And the primer, the Coakley primer, this textbook that may not be fully publicly available. I may have been being a bad friend there. I think maybe a friend let me have an access to it. It may not be publicly available, but I'll find out and I'll put a link. And all this super cool material. And then there's these really awesome YouTubers with Assyrian, with the history of Syriac, and also with the history of Aramaic, that I'll link to. I don't want to name some people because then I feel like I'm leaving other people out, and then that kind of like high school, you know, like in some sort of passive aggressive way that like I'm gonna let some sit at my dinner table and at the lunch table and others not. And that's what I'm trying to avoid in life, as we all try to transition away from like the world being governed by a high school bully. I feel like we all personally have to move away from our own personal engagement with the world as high school bullies. So I will put a selection of the super cool, awesome YouTubers who work on this stuff, who are really, really cool. And it was from my time at Tel Aviv University, where I was working on something completely different. I was in the human rights law faculty. I met some awesome scholars from all across the region working on these things, and I'll link to those as well. So those are the cool things that are out there that are very rich and really great to teach yourself. And then what I wanted to point out was that there is a gap and an opportunity for people who work in this, which I don't. You know, I'm a little Bambi taking my little Bambi baby steps with this language. I may have signed up to a master's program somewhere, but I'm still, you know, just at the start of my journey with it, which is apps. Now, as you probably know from my many videos during lockdown about language learning apps, and the main relationship in my life being with Drops and Bluebird and Memrise and Duolingo. I'm a big fan of language learning apps. I'm not sponsored by any of them. Like, in case, like, I'm just like a fangirl. In case that's not clear, like, I have absolutely no affiliation with any of these like companies that I spend my time like raving about. Was that there aren't so many for Aramaic or Syriac. And again, I'm not putting where Aramaic to Syriac, any of the Aramaics or any of the Syriacs. There were not that many apps, which was particularly striking because there's lots of cool people doing cool tech stuff with all these things because I've seen all their awesome YouTube videos, right? So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then I wanted to point out the ones that I did find and be positive about their qualities. Because again, it's always nicer to just be positive about the qualities that something has rather than pointing out the things that it lacks, right? You know, and different things do different things. And that's okay. There's no point in getting like angry at a cheesecake because it's not a hot air balloon. Like different things can like be nice in their own way and make you happy in their own way and not fulfill you in any way, every way, and that should be okay. So I don't want this to be a like Syriac and Aramaic language learning apps are bad comment. My point is there's so much that could be done, and wouldn't that be lovely and cool? So let me find the ones I've been working with. So Yo-Yo Talk, which taught me, I think this is the one I taught myself the alphabet on. Oh, you don't want to load right now? That's okay. Oh, no, it's teaching me the word for winter. That's where I got up to with that app. Was very good for teaching myself the alphabet. For teaching myself, sorry, I don't have COVID, but I'm getting through an Icelandic winter, so you know, that's its own thing. Which I use to reacquaint myself with the Syriac alphabet and practice basic vocabulary